Uh, yeah. Just before we start off, a basic introduction of the institute. So this started in 2010, where the prime focus is on finance certifications as well as skill-based trainings using Excel as well as SPSS. Using SPSS, we are more into statistical analysis. So a lot of business analytics, market research, statistical analysis kind of programs using including econometric analysis and all. Along with that, using Excel, the focus is on core Excel tool itself, where programs like data analysis using Excel, macros, VBA using Excel, dashboard creation using Excel, statistical analysis using Excel, and all are there. And specifically targeted towards finance professionals, financial modeling for equity research, which is the current program, or even for project financing, doing a modeling, financial statement analysis, for mergers, doing a modeling. So these are some of the things. And apart from that, in the area of risk management, also there are few in the areas of derivatives, valuation of the derivatives, especially options, futures, then credit risk, modeling credit risk, modeling market risk. So more of modeling aspects is what are taken up as a part of this curriculum or as a part of this institute. Apart from that, CFA and FRM happen to be the prime certification oriented training programs here, and the same are done for the corporate also. Right, we do have a good list of corporate clients on various training programs. But coming to this session, I am recording this entire session. So I will be giving you the video after the course, the same program, so that you can practice, because this is more of a skill based training. So though you are working on it parallelly on your laptop, sometimes something may get stuck. Some kind of audio, video kind of stuff always helps. So that's where I'm recording, and I would be giving you the video of this. And anytime you come up with your individual doubt clarifications and all, we can work out. And even my Excel sheet on which I am working on, where we are taking up this time the financial model of Hindustan Unilever. So that entire worksheet I would be giving it to you also. And of course, I have a couple of ebooks collected on financial modeling. I'll share those books also with you. All right. Now, when we use the word financial modeling, it's primarily like a finance built into an spreadsheet model, because there are a lot of whenever we use the word finance, there is we are dealing with a lot of uncertainty. So when we say, okay, you invest in this, you will get 12% return. Is it guaranteed? There is nothing. That 12% is based on some assumptions, right? Based on, probably I'm assuming the economy will be like this. I'm assuming that some other factors will be like this. So that's where I'm talking about 12%. So there are a lot of variables, lot of assumptions that go into are deciding a particular number. And when it comes to deciding those numbers, or deciding how much should I invest, or is it worth investing in this or not, when it comes to taking decisions of that kind, it's always better that all the assumptions are bundled together, put up at a particular place, so that when I change these assumptions, what would be the impact on the final calculation is what I would like to typically look at. So that is where financial modeling helps me out. Any concept of finance, any area of finance, it could be equities, it could be commodities, it could be planning, it could be any aspect, derivatives, any aspects of finance. As long as there are variables which may vary in future, and I want to observe my particular instrument under these variables. If this variable changes, if this company does not grow at 12% as expected but grows only at 10%, what could be the impact on the stock price? Could be. So based on various assumptions, I am trying to pull all the assumptions together at one place so that I can play around with the assumptions and quickly see the impact on the final output. That is what is a financial modeling. That's where we see financial modeling in every aspect. It could, this is the one for equity research. Same thing could be there for project finance. Same thing could be there for mergers. Something could be there for financial planning. So everything, for everything there could be a financial model, right? So any financial theory, concept, relationship between various elements, I can put them into a spreadsheet, and that is what I can call it as a financial model. And so most of the time financial models, when we say we are creating a financial model, we are trying to build a spreadsheet model for that. So that's where with the more and more Excel has become powerful, the more and more financial modeling as a space has become more powerful, right? Because Excel can solve all these kind of things to a real great extent. So more and more, the more sophisticated I create a financial model, the more I can attract my clients, because I can take decisions very quickly. The advantage of financial modeling is decision taking becomes much quicker. So we are here, we may not deal with the finance, here we may not deal with here we may not deal with the entire gamut of the world, but we are only dealing with, for this particular situation, for this particular equity investment, what all assumptions could be there, and if these are the assumptions, how will I take these assumptions into the projections and then take a decision on this is the worth of this particular stock. Is it overvalued or undervalued in the market? So there's the more and more sophisticated model I create, which means the more and more spreadsheet formulas I use, the more and more dynamic I create that model, the better it is for taking a decision to the easiest, in the easiest manner. So that's where we say there's nothing called this is a financial model available. No one can sell a financial model as a product. The reason being, each business has its own requirement. Each security has its own specific requirements. So I should be able to build a model rather than purchase a model. Purchase a model will always have its own limitations. When I am building it, I can bring in all possible assumptions and try to customize the model at every step. So that's where most of the models will be preferred, will be having a lot of value when they are developed on own, suiting to our specific requirement rather than using a template. So how is this entire modeling world going? First I develop some kind of a framework, a model. Based on what? Based on the management situation. Here my management situation is investment decision. Should I buy HUL security today or not? How many shares of HUL should I buy? Or is it worth buying or is it worth selling? Looking at a long-term strategy. So that is my management situation. Based on that, using some assumptions, I have constructed a model. And I'll compare it with the reality. Results, actual results I'll see. Okay, am I really making a profit out of it? If it is not, which means I have to alter my model, because we have to remember here, modeling has nothing to do with assurance in profit, because modeling has more to do with bundling all the assumptions together. How we are visualizing the future going to be, both for this particular company whose shares we are buying, or for this industry in which the company is operating, or for the economy as a whole. There are so many assumptions. We are just bundling the assumptions. So again, the number about that assumption, if it goes wrong, probably your whole buy sell decision is going wrong. So all we are saying is, based on some set of assumptions, I create a model. Now with the actuals, I compare that model. If there is some kind of a deviation, obviously my model has to be updated. Probably I might have missed out one variable. or probably I might have considered two variables where one is sufficient. So you improvise the model and make it as a loop. So the financial modeling always is like a ever going activity. It's not that once I have a model in place, that itself will solve all my problems. Then if that's the case, people can very well buy one template and probably keep using that template, right? The more our understanding of the finance changes, the more our understanding of the business changes, right, the more better model I can develop, right? So that's where I segregate the different models. Otherwise, at the end, when I talk about a financial model, my intention, if I have to look at it as a big picture, is it worth investing? And if it is, how much should I pay for it? Whether it is a equity security or a project or a merger, anything, the end intention is it worth buying? If yes, how much should be paid for it? Then why are we having different models for each of them? The reason being, in case of equity, I am not the owner of the company. It's not my business. I may not be knowing much about the business of the company. It's not starting from scratch. It's already an existing business. They have been doing reasonably well for quite a few years over the past, either as a private or a public entity. Their financial statements are already in place. Now, my focus is in terms of investing in that company. Whereas when I talk about a project or a new business, it's from the scratch. It's from the scratch. So I need to visualize how the business is going to be in future. Whereas in case of equity, the past could reflect the future much better. I have lots and lots of data about the past, not only for this one company, there are 10 other companies in the industry. So data availability is much higher. So valuing an already existing equity security will always be a first step before getting into the valuation of the entire new project or a company altogether. So the assumptions in case of new projects and businesses are completely different, and we need to understand the business in depth before we do a valuation or create a model for them. Whereas when it comes to equity, the whole data is already in place. Neither we are doing that business nor we understand extremely about that business. If we know it, it's well and good, but it's not mandatory that I know each and every business, right? But still I am creating a financial model to take a decision in terms of investing in that particular security. So the though the end result will be the value, the path that goes, the assumptions that go in terms of reaching that value are different in case of equity versus a new project. So that's where the building a financial model for each of these things is a slightly different picture. Now, what is the difference between a value and a price? This is the most common thing which we talk of. Price is something which is there in the market. It is common for everyone. The share is being sold at this particular price right now in the market, which is common for everyone. But the value is not that. I buy, you sell. Why is that? Because what we perceive is actually the value. I perceive that no, it's very high. The price of it is very high. You perceive the price is reasonable. So you are ready to buy, I am ready to sell. Which happens almost in each and every investment decision. Some people are willing to buy thinking that it is worth buying. Some people are willing to sell though the price is the same. So that's what we need to understand. So what is driving this value? You are deciding. See, in most of the cases you have taken your own decision. If you say, okay, you have to spend 5 lakhs to join this particular program, 5 lakhs is the price for it. Is it worth paying 5 lakhs or not is what you are deciding. Probably you are using 100 different parameters to decide that number, or probably you will arrive at some number virtually. No, this is for this 4 lakhs is the max. What procedure you have used, probably you only have to answer. But you have come out with some kind of a procedure saying for this 4 lakhs is the max. Probably someone else may feel, oh, 5 lakhs, this is available for much cheaper. So two different mentalities, the same program, depending on what kind of benefit they are expecting out of it, they either try to invest that or they back out from that. So that is what is the concept of valuation altogether. Make appropriate assumptions of the future. Then, am I always right? Not required, right? I have invested 4 lakhs, but I somehow feel even that 4 lakhs is a heavy investment. Or someone else, he said, oh, 5 lakhs, easy, let me go forward. But after that, it may not give any benefit. So, any investment decision is always made. Probably you should, you can take it for granted. Any investment decision which any person is making is purely based on what he or she visualizing about the future. Right? I want to do this course only under the perception that this will give me benefit in the future. Now, how much of benefit? Based on that, how much I should invest today will be coming out. If I'm going to get more, if I perceive that I'll get more benefit in future, I'm ready to invest more now. That's the typical. So that is what is the word of valuation. Now coming to the equity securities, there are different models that have come up in terms of how to do that kind of a valuation. What determines what kind of inputs I need to take, and based on that inputs, how do I decide what is the value of it, right? So that's where some of these things say it's better to be roughly right than precisely wrong, right? Even if I am more closer, even if I am able to do based on whatever information I have, because I am not working for HUL, I am not a part of the management of HUL, I don't know much about the insider details of HUL to the core, as probably the CEOs and the top management of the company would be knowing. But whatever the information that is available to me, based on that, I can very well think of creating one kind of a model which can help me in terms of taking investment decisions in an appropriate manner. That is where we are going forward. So financial modeling, whenever we are using, the intention is to use scenario analysis, because the variables keep changing, the assumptions keep changing. The moment one assumption changes, tomorrow a financial result gets released. The moment I update that numbers into my sheet, it should tell me what should be the price now. Is it overvalued or undervalued? Immediately take a decision accordingly. So any new information that comes up, I should be able to input that information into my model and get a decision on whether is it still worth holding on to this security, or is it better to sell off this one, right? So that is what is the talk of financial model. But of course we should be slightly careful about this word called expected value. How much I expect the expected return in future. No one will say you will get 12%. The average return will be 12%. Average can have a lot of differentiated meaning. You may get 15, you may get -5 also, right? So that's one place people try to play around statistically, but we should, I mean, the information wise, the client or any evaluator, he should see even the downward side of it also. What is the chance that there could be a loss also? Most of the equity investment, we say average profit of 10%, 12%, 15%, whatever it is, but there is always a chance the customer can lose also in those kind of investments. So financial modeling should tell me what is the chance of a loss, right? All these things I can very well go with while defining a financial model. So that's where what I can typically do is, on the data which we have taken, we'll try to get into this process of creating this kind of a model and try to see what should be the worth from various dimensions, because there are different kinds of models that are available whose focus is from different dimensions, right? One looks at dividend as a dimension, one looks at cash flows as a dimension, one looks at relativity as a dimension, one looks at value addition as a dimension. So based on various dimension, I'll cover the conceptual aspect of that dimension, as well as we'll try to put it in our spreadsheet to see how we typically calculate the value of that particular security. Okay, so just a brief thing about, we have already discussed about difference between value and price. Price is a fixed one, whereas value changes from person to person, from time to time, right? From the moment I hear some news, based on that, my perception of that particular security will change. So valuation is always a dynamic aspect, whereas price is always a static one. So based on the price, I'll see whether my value is above the price or below the price. And that is where valuation is a continuous exercise. That for that purpose, I require something in place, because I cannot keep doing the calculations every day. I should have something in some model kind of thing in place, so that I just input the relevant changes and my entire output is taken care of. Right. So that's where coming to our curriculum. So we'll talk about the balance sheet, the financial statements of the company in a quick nutshell, because historical does not make much of a sense in a financial model. Just understanding of the historical data is important, but primarily as a part of financial modeling, our focus is on the future forecasting. Forecasting will be the first step. So for to do a forecast, probably I need to have some understanding of the past, historical. So that's where we'll try to look at the historical balance sheet, income statement, and cash flow statement. And based on that, we look at even the ratios are also being computed. So we'll look at some of the ratios, and using them, this is where the real crux is. Forecast based on various assumptions and drivers, the various aspects in that, the depreciation, the debt schedules, and all that. And based on all of them, get into the different types of valuation, find out what is the worth of this particular security. And of course, we have to do a lot of sensitivity analysis. What if the sales don't grow at 12%, but they just grow at 10%? How is it still worth buying this share now? What if it's 5% only? Is it going to be worth selling, or is it worth buying? So the moment one of our drivers change, what would be the impact on the final value is what is an important aspect that needs to be looked at. All right. So let's start off with our model and trying to understand the aspect of our model. And again, we'll come back to this PPT wherever applicable, because some conceptual aspects also need to be understood before we directly put them onto the spreadsheet. So wherever that conceptual aspects are required, we'll try to get into those conceptual aspects also.